Nice guys, we tend to be people pleasers. We don't set the tone. We don't lead. We always defer to our spouses or our girlfriends. Because we're trying to make them happy, right? If I make the wrong decision, she's going to be unhappy, and then there's going to be an argument, and I want to avoid conflict. Do you see where this is going? Like, I know this is touching a nerve with some of you guys because you do this, right? I've done this. I know exactly what this is like because I'm a recovering nice guy. Okay. But there's consequences. There's consequences to this behavior. You get a lack of respect. You get a lack of attraction. And I'm not talking about physical attraction. Okay. When we talk about attraction, we're talking about two separate things. Okay. Be attractive. Don't be unattractive, right? Be attractive is your physical appearance, wearing clothes that fit, putting nice smelling cologne on, nice haircuts, or if you're balding, just shave that shit, right? We're past David, Mark. I can say that. Okay. But don't be unattractive is how you show up, your actions in life, your demeanor. Do you have emotional control? Or do you playfully banter with your girl? Are you cocky funny? Like that kind of stuff is attractive behavior, but most of us don't have that. And so we lose that attraction because we're seeking approval. We're avoiding conflict. We have a fear of rejection. We don't, we walk on eggshells hoping not to piss off our access to sex. Right. That's unattractive behavior. Okay. And there's a loss of polarity in a relationship when you do that kind of stuff too. When we talk about polarity, we're talking about masculine and feminine energy, right? Or you can, if you don't want to, be all woo-woo about it, masculine and feminine actions or traits or roles. Okay. However you want to say it. Okay. It doesn't really matter. But they're meant to complement each other. Men and women are meant to complement each other. Our differences are meant to complement each other. But if you are doing a lot of approval seeking, that kind of stuff, that's actually, you're acting more feminine when you do that. You're acting more like a woman, and women don't typically want to date other women. You see, so there's a loss of polarity there. You get me? And a lot of the times when you're acting in your feminine, that forces her to act in her masculine, which is unnatural to her. And then she resents you for it. She resents you for pushing her into her masculine. You understand? But you can't see all this stuff. You can't see all this stuff because of your internalized social programming and cultural scripts. You watch any kind of TV show, any kind of romantic comedy, any kind of, any kind of, like, you listen to any kind of mainstream relationship advice, it sort of enforces this type of ineffective behavior. And that's why when you read, when I talk to guys, I say, well, what have you tried to turn your relationship around? They say, I've tried everything, right? But they probably do believe they've tried literally everything. They've read all the mainstream relationship books and taken the mainstream relationship advice, but it doesn't work. It doesn't work because you're just working within the paradigm that you already have, and you're not getting success with that paradigm. Okay. So now you need to seek answers elsewhere. And that's usually when people find the red pill, right? Is they've gotten to a place, they've got to such a low point, they're in so much pain, and they're like, what, all this stuff I'm doing isn't working, right? The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. It's because all the advice that you're taking sounds good. And the reason why it sounds good is because it works hand in hand with the paradigm that you've been programmed with. That doesn't work. So then you need to challenge that. That's where red pill advice comes in, because we're like, look, it doesn't work that way. It works this way, right? We give you the red pill. You wake up in the real world and it's like, oh crap, I was a fucking battery the whole time. It's the Matrix reference. If you don't understand, you don't understand it because right now you're operating in the blue pilled world, right? You're operating within the Matrix, and you need to actually get out of it to see how things really operate. Okay. So now that you see the script, now that you understand why things aren't working for you because of this paradigm that you've been programmed with, let me show you what it's doing to your heart and to your relationships. Before we go into that, though, guys, do follow me on social media. I'm going to go on I'm planning on really doing an experiment over the next month or two on really trying to build up my X account, right? I've got this sneaking feeling that TikTok's basically dead now. Instagram and Facebook, they are so wonky with me. I don't even know what's going on with those guys. Like I might say one thing, it pisses them off. I end up in a weird shadow ban. They stop monetizing me for months at a time. And I'm like, now I'm starting to research more about X, and it's like all these changes that Elon's doing. I'm like, all right, I'm going to go hard on X. I'm going to go hard on X. So start following me on X. The links are in the description for that. Guys, get my free ebook, She's Made You Weak. I think I have a link for that in the description. I might have replaced it though with the workshop that I'm doing. With the workshop that I'm doing this week, which let me just talk about that for a minute. Let me turn that off. Okay, does this sound familiar? Let me ask you this. Does this sound familiar? You try to kiss your wife. She turns away. You reach out at night. She pretends to be asleep. The bedroom's not just cold, it's dead. And every time you bring it up, she gets more distant. You've talked, you've tried, you've been patient, you've been supportive, but nothing's working. And now you're living in silent rejection, wondering if she even wants you anymore. Tomorrow at 11 a.m. Eastern time, I'm running a 60-minute live workshop. It might go longer than 60 minutes, but it's going to be a live workshop to fix exactly that. It's going to be real tactics to rebuild desire and sexual tension fast. What we talk about tomorrow, you can start using tomorrow night on your girl, and you're going to start seeing differences. Okay, it's only $97. Signups close tonight at midnight. Okay, if you've been living under a rock and you haven't been seeing my social media, I've been talking about it all week. Okay, so don't be like, oh, what do you mean it closed at midnight? You're just telling me about? No, I've been talking about it all week. Okay, links in the chat here to sign up for that. But signups close tonight at midnight Eastern, midnight Eastern. Okay, so if you're in Colorado, that's gonna be 10 p.m. All right. If you are in California, signups close at 9 p.m. Okay. But it's closing tonight at midnight. Limited spots. All right. Don't miss it. Click the link. Okay. I dropped it in the chat. It's also in the description if you want to get in there. All right. All right. Let's talk about the agony of playing small. Oh, man. I got here. Tell a personal story of doing everything right, still ended up broken, ignored, or cheated on. Well, geez, that sounds like my story. If you guys are new to the podcast, you just found me. I don't know. Maybe you saw me lurking in a dead bedroom forum, and you saw me commenting on someone's post, and you're like, "Oh, who's this Paul Bauer guy?" And you Google me, and you ended up here. All right, let me tell you my Batman origin story. I was married for 14 years. I got married at 20 years old. I wasn't even old enough to drink alcohol at my reception, right? But I was always that guy that was like sniper dating. So like the first girl that was nice to me, I would go all in and try to push for a relationship and try to be in a relationship and try to make her my girlfriend. And then once she was my girlfriend, man, she was going to be my wife, man. Like every girl that I dated in high school for like more than a month, I was like, I'm going to marry this girl. I had two like major relationships when I was in high school, and I was going to marry both those chicks. The second one was crazy, man. We broke up twice, right? The first time we broke up, she stopped that by trying to convince me that she was pregnant, right? And then I was like, oh, well, I'm going to do the right thing. I'm going to man up and, I'm going to marry you and all this kind of shit, right? Turns out she wasn't pregnant. And she was lying. She was just doing that to manipulate me back into the relationship. And then a couple months later, I had to go break up, and then she pulled that same shit again. And I was like, "Look, I'll pay for it, but we're not going to be a thing." And then magically, she wasn't pregnant, right? Anyway, fast forward. I joined the U.S. Navy when I was 18. 2 years into that enlistment, I went home on leave. I met my now ex-wife through mutual friends, and we ended up in this long distance relationship because she was out here in Colorado and I was in San Diego, stationed at 32nd Street Naval Station. I was on the USS Shiloh, and so we had this long distance relationship for about a year before I convinced her to move in with me. And so we were together for about 3 months in person before we eloped, right? And the big reason why we eloped was that I'm getting a beer club guys pinging in the chat, and I forgot to close the chat. Why are you guys on the chat? Watch the fucking live stream. Okay, anyway, love those guys. So I get married, we eloped, and the reason why was because I was getting ready to go on a 3-month training exercise called RIMPAC. And then that was off the coast of Hawaii, come back for a month. And then I was going to be gone on a Westpac, which is a full deployment in the Middle East for 6 months. So for 9 months of that first year, I was gone, but I wanted to make sure that she was taken care of because I'm a provider. That's what you do, man, provide. So I was like, I want to make sure she's taken care of. I want to make sure she has health insurance. I want to make sure she can live while I'm not there. And that was my duty as a man, take care of this woman. And so we eloped. And then a year later, we had an official wedding for the family. And that's where, you know, that was like right before my 21st birthday. And so I couldn't even drink alcohol at my wedding reception, right? But I was that guy. I was running for that white picket fence. And our relationship was pretty good for the first, I would say, 7 years. And we have 2 wonderful children. My daughter, she's 20. She's off at college. My son just turned 16. We just bought his first car this last weekend. It's a shitbox, but that's what a teenager's first car is supposed to be. So anyway, last half of that marriage was fucking miserable. But I thought I was doing everything right. I would defer to her. I would ask her what she wants to eat. We would always, whatever made her happy, or at least what I thought would make her happy, that's what we would do. You know, I would do her honey-do lists. When I first got promoted, I used to be a help desk guy. When I first got promoted to help desk, because I was an IT intern, when I first got promoted to help desk, I call her up. I was so excited. Like, babe, I just got promoted. I've been working on this promotion for years. Isn't that great? And she's like, can I quit my job now? Like that was her reaction to that, right? Can I quit my job now? Because she wanted to be a stay-at-home mom. What she really wanted, as you could probably guess by saying, hey, can I quit my job now? Is that she just wanted early retirement. She just didn't want to work anymore, okay? All this kind of stuff I didn't see in the beginning because I had the rose-colored glasses. I was too busy trying to push for that white picket fence. I overlooked all these red flags. She was like that from the beginning, though. I just chose to ignore it because, a love or whatever, right? I was Twitter pated. I was madly in love. She was my soulmate, bro. Okay. But I did all this kind of stuff and ended up in a miserable relationship for the last half of that marriage, right? So I was married for 14 years. The last half of it, I was miserable. She was a miserable person to be around. She was always nagging, always bitching, always moaning. I didn't know how to handle any of that stuff, so I'd lose my shit at her all the time. We'd always end up in these big fights and stuff. And luckily for me, she ended up filing for divorce. Then the same thing happened. 11 months later, I ended up in my relationship with a Red Pill chick. And Red Pill chick, that relationship lasted 4.5 years. But the first 2 years, I went right back into the same complacent husband mode and stopped doing the attractive stuff like almost immediately. So that relationship didn't even last that long because I immediately went back to the same shit that I was doing in my marriage. And she ended up cheating on me at the end. But I was trying to make her happy all the time. She was my soulmate, all this kind of shit, right? I thought I was doing everything right. I still ended up being dumped. It still ended up getting walked all over. I still got cheated on. The thing is, man, that was what really slapped those wife goggles off my face after the Red Pill chick thing, right? I felt betrayed. I was confused. I didn't understand what the fuck I was doing wrong. I thought I was doing everything right. I thought I was doing everything right. I did everything my dad did. He and my mom are still together. In hindsight, I look at it now and I'm like, well, geez, yeah, my parents are miserable. My dad's miserable. No wonder.
New episodes every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Subscribe now.